The rosé wine category has seen a huge growth over the past 2 decades, with producers and consumers enjoying this drink not only in the summertime but also all year round. In this episode, we speak to Rasmus Emborg, author of Rosé Evolution. We will explore the histories and stories behind some of the most famous and most important producers in the history of rosé. From Provence to Spain up in Champagne, this is a tribute to some of the stories and the people who made rosé wine a phenomenon. Cheers for now, and now on with the show. Welcome to the Looking Into Wine podcast. I'm Mattias Carpazza, your host, and today joining me is the author of the brilliantly presented book Rosé Revolution. This book explores the ever-growing popularity of rosé wines, focusing on the producers who have made rosé a success story. I want to welcome the author of the book, Rasmus Emborg.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
No, you're welcome. Thank you for your timing and for taking the time to chat with me. I must say the book is beautifully presented, and before the call we were talking about the photography as well, and I wanted to give a shout out to the photographer and Jens Honoré, I think.
Yeah, that's my partner in crime on this. We've been doing all this, been working on this project together. He's doing all the photographing, and I do all the writing. So every content in this book is original. Yeah, I wrote every word, and he took every photo in the book.
Oh, amazing!
And I can say he did a brilliant job, I would say.
Yeah, no, everything is really well presented, I must say, and the story as well is super interesting. But before we get into it, I wanted to ask where this passion for rosé stemmed from. I think and the second part of the question is what pushed you to write a book about it, because that's always an interesting topic to chat about authors and an interesting thing. How did you do this?
Yeah, it's a fascinating world to get into, and well, if I should try to cut it short, it's for me it started around 12 years ago when my wife and I bought a small vineyard down in Provence. Provence, southern part of France, is the heartland of rosé. More than 90% of the wine production there is rosé. And so, for good reason, I started to drink the stuff, and I started exploring the world of rosé day by day, glass by glass. And as I got to know some of the region's best producers, I also began to see this incredible effort and artistry that went into making truly great rosé. So, it's a pale wine that for many years was looked down upon, ignored by experts, but during the past years, as the wine has been undergoing a fascinating development, I think. When it comes to quality, when it comes to recognition, when it comes to popularity and sales. And I sort of witnessed this development firsthand. And I got fascinated by this ugly duckling transformation that reflects how perceptions of this wine have shifted dramatically. And I thought that transformation, that story, deserved to be told. And I talked to Jens about it, and he was immediately on this idea. And here it is. Here's our book, the book about this Rosé Revolution.
How long did it take to compiling, writing? What was the journey like from the idea? What was the
Well,
difficulty?
the idea was kind of developing in my head, and I think the first time I talked to Jens about this was actually, we were having a Danish lunch, open face sandwiches with herring and beer and aquavit. That's a very typical Danish. And I told him about this idea of writing a book of rosé, and yeah, he immediately jumped into this, and that was in. That was in 2020, so 4.5 years ago. And then,
Okay.
I mean, we slowly started to talk about it and do some research, and we contacted. I have made a book before, and I have a publisher, and we made an arrangement with this publisher that thought this was a good idea as well, and then we did a lot of traveling in around 21, 22, 23, and traveling around the world to visit some of the most significant producers of rosé wine, each of
Yeah.
them having a fascinating story themselves, and each of them bringing kind of a piece to the puzzle
Yeah.
about telling the overall story of this development of rosé wine the past couple of decades.
And how did you, I mean, because you go through some incredible producers and you must have really happy with the people you met and everything. How did you decide, oh, these are the people? I can see some of these names are the, like the obvious choice, and that they will be the great story. But how do you choose some of these, some of the newer producers? What was the thought process there for this?
Yeah, I mean that's a good question, and we did quite a lot of spent quite a lot of time on this and did a lot of research, and I mean for sure it's difficult to make a book about rosé without having Domaine Ott. We call him the aristocrat of rosé wine. I mean they were the first to produce rosé wine the way we have it today, and another producer that definitely came to our mind and that we couldn't eh, we didn't want to leave out was Sacha Le Chine of Château d'Esclans. And I mean, his Château d'Esclans is actually located just 5 kilometers from my own vineyard down in Provence, and I've been visiting the chateau for many times, and I really got inspired by their wine and also the story. And I mean, Sacha Le Chine, he's a really good story. A man from a famous Bordeaux wine family who sold the family estate in Margaux to buy a chateau in Provence. And I mean, Provence, a region that at the time was considered a low status wine area. And then he said, I want to produce rosé and an equally low status wine. And I mean, at that time, the wine establishment was shaking their heads. But Le Chine did not care. He had a vision. He wanted to make rosé into a real wine. And
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, to cut it short, today nobody's shaking their heads. And if anybody's laughing, that's Sacha Le Chine. That is all the way to the bank because he's really, I mean, he is the producer of the most popular rosé wine in the world, Whispering Angel. And I mean, this wine is more than a drink; it's a phenomenon, and also
Yes.
the best selling French wine in the U.S., including all the reds and the whites as well. So we had the Domaine Ott, and we had the Château d'Esclans, and fortunately, when we knocked on their door, they opened it, and they were caught by the idea of making this book together with us. And then we started to look into other countries, and with the ambition also to uh, to uh, to have producers from different regions of the
Yeah.
world. I mean, we have Spain, Italy, we have Germany, we have the U.S., California, and Long Island, and we also have a producer in Champagne. You know, Rosé is actually quite big in Champagne, and we have a producer from Tavel,
Yeah.
in the Rhone area, and I mean Tavel is actually probably the most traditional area for rosé production. And as I said, we wanted each. I mean, this is very much about storytelling as well. So we wanted to get into these people. We wanted to tell the story about the hard work and the investment and the passion of these people who we call, I mean, the pioneers in this rosé
Yeah.
revolution. Those who wanted rosé wine not just to be a byproduct of red wine, but wanted to make rosé in its own right, and yeah,
I
and
think
we
I
ended
think
up.
is I think it's I mean the selection is brilliant, and before I mean I have a couple of people I chose to maybe expand a little bit upon, and you already touched upon the art, the main art, and everything. But before we get there, I wanted to, because I was doing some research on the rosé market, and I was looking at, and this is not part of the book, and this is just your hot take on this, but I was looking at some like trends for rosé, and they were saying there was this Zion Market Research who does like market research on different topics, and they were saying the rosé from like 3 billion this year to a 5 billion in value in 2020 and 2035 in 10 years. What do you think about that? Do you think that could really like Rosé is on a trajectory to continue growing for the next, I don't know, 10 years, but definitely in the next few years? What is
Well,
your take there?
I think, I mean, if you look at the numbers, rosé wine has been growing dramatically the past 15, 15 years in terms of, I mean, in terms of volume, but also terms of price point. And you see that consumers are more willing to pay more for a bottle of rosé. And this gives the producers also a better chance to invest in the development of rosé and to invest in the development of the quality. And I think this is crucial for the category to continue its development. That you see that rosé is turning more and more into uh, a real wine, as was the ambition of Sacha Dishin, and a wine that can compete with very good wine, also in the categories of red and white, and a wine that you can drink all year long. You don't have to be on your terrace or at the swimming pool, and you certainly don't have to put ice cubes in the wine. I mean, this is a real wine, and as long as we see this development continue, we also think we will see the category develop. However, I think maybe not with the same uh, level
Yeah.
in the coming years. But I think definitely uh, Rosé has established itself as a bridge builder between red and wine, as a wine category on its own, and a wine category that is being taken much more seriously today than
Yeah.
just 10, 15 years ago.
I think, I mean, from my like understanding and my background, I think finally Rosé has managed to diverge from being the something in the middle that he wasn't either white or red, something that he wasn't quite understood where he was going to sit. And you see in another category, same wine, but finally managed to diverge and is going off in his own trajectory. And for me, like, interesting because I already uh, for, for me, rosé one of the most appealing things, and I think this was also down to the main author that I didn't know before reading the book that the shape as well. For me, rosé is such a like is the only category in the wine category in the wine world that is doing basically whatever he wants in bottle shapes and fun, making it fun and making it different and without like sort of the constraint. And that definitely is a bit more like more modern and attracting younger people. But what was the idea? Like you spoke to Domain Art and you mentioned about this. What was the idea about the bottle shape there? Because that really, I think, led to other producer doing, okay, well, he's doing something wacky, a bit different. We can do it too.
Yeah, I mean, uh, Domain Art, in a way, started this. As I said, they started making rosé the way we know rosé today many years ago, and they've kind of been working hard to create the foundation of this rosé revolution. And they yeah they made this bottle, which was shaped after a, a an ancient ceramic bottle that was found on the property, one of the domains of Dominot. And actually, for in the beginning, they tried to convince other producers that this shape of the bottle should be the bottle that defines the category. Just like you see that a bottle of Bordeaux wine or a
Yeah.
bottle of Burgundy wine has its own shape, then there was the ambition of Domainot that this very special shape that of their wine bottles should be the bottle that should define the category.
Yeah.
It didn't turn out this way, but in a way they started this tradition, or this. I mean, here there are no rules to follow. We can do
Yeah.
whatever we want. We can shape. We can make the bottle we want, and we can put colors on the bottle. We can draw some flowers on the bottle, and again, we want to have transparent bottles, because then you also see the color of the wine, and yeah, it's a beautiful wine, and well, and for that reason, I think rosé has some advantages. I mean, it looks good.
Yeah.
Also on Instagram, there's a certain atmosphere connected to it, and for many, it's also more inclusive and accessible. It's more fun maybe to drink rosé, and I think it always applies to casual drinkers, those
Yeah.
who are looking for quality and good experiences, but don't necessarily want to make slurping noises every time they enjoy a glass. But one thing I want to emphasize is that they should, just because it's a beautiful wine, just because it looks good on Instagram, just because it's very often comes in a creatively designed bottle, it does not mean it's not a good wine.
Yeah.
And I think this is one of the things that are changing these years. That also, you know, the wine establishment are recognizing that there's a lot of good rosé wine out there,
Yeah.
even though that there may be some flowers drawn on some of the bottles.
I know that's absolute. I think I see it. I mean, in my past decade in the industry, I see how it went from bottle being served somewhere along, especially in the UK, glass of ice, some ice, and didn't even look at the color of the label, as long as it was pale and with some ice on the side. But now that that is changing, there is also a growing interest in like niche production, a different producer, and doing some pushing this like quality, especially for among like the more aware consumers. I think for me, like I will want one day to interview them, because I think that you mentioned to Kermit Lynch in the book.
Hmm.
I did not
Yeah.
see that coming. I was like, okay, well, I didn't expect that, because I spoke about him and his incredible influence in the wine industry in the US, about all the Rhone varietals and the Italian varietals. But I didn't expect him to be also a driving force for rosé. Would you what how did you find this connection, and what did you do? I mean, that's a compounded question for you.
Yeah. I mean, I think you're right. I mean, you should definitely give Kermit Lynch credit for uh, for introducing American wine drinkers to rosé, especially on the West Coast, where he is located
Yeah.
in Berkeley. And I mean, in our research, we came across Domaine Tempier, a really a legend also in the rosé wine world, located in Bandol, and making rosé wine out of Mourvèdre, the classical Bandol grape. And I mean, Domaine Champé, they have really a fascinating story, and and um, and we found out that there was this connection between Domaine Tempier and Kermit Lynch, and a connection that also included Alice Waters, uh, who is a very famous chef who has a restaurant in California, Chez Panisse. And
Mm-hmm.
both Kermit Lynch and Alice Waters, they have strong connection to the founders of Domaine Tempier, Lucien and Lulu Perrault, and yeah, and we got into this story, and I mean, the today Kermit Lynch actually has a house in Bandol, close to Domaine
Ah,
Tempier,
nice.
and we had the privilege to visit him there, and I mean, he he gave us. I mean, it was really a great experience to meet up with him, and to hear his story, how he saw the development, and how he was, in a way, also a pioneer in introducing wine consumers to rosé. And I mean, and I mean, we have 13 different producers in the book, and I mean, we love them all. I mean, we think they all, I mean, great stories, and I
Yeah.
mean, every producer is really has been a privilege to get to know, and we're so grateful for the time they spend with us. And we visited the producers several times, and I'm really got some great connections. And when you read the book, I really hope that you feel this atmosphere, and this joy, and these and you feel all these good experiences that we had along the way. And of course, I mean, it's maybe not fair to mention one experience over the other, but I mean, it was at Domaine Tempier we had one of our, one of our really mind blowing experiences. That I mean, we were having a wine tasting there. We visited Domaine Tempier a number of times. One of the times
Yeah.
we had a wine tasting, and Daniel Ravier, the winemaker, gave us a wine tasting. And at the end of this tasting, he went out and came back with a bottle of rosé from 1979,
Oh wow.
45 years old. And I mean, it was a mind-blowing experience, proving that also good rosé wine has aging potential. And I mean,
Absolutely.
did we put ice cubes into this wine? No, no, we did not. I mean, I mean, it was really a great experience.
Amazing. I mean, yeah, for the sake of the podcast, and also because I don't want the listener to not having the idea, then okay, well, we listen to the podcast, we don't need to read the book, because there are amazing stories there, and I love the story with the Tondonia, another
Oh yeah.
incredible producer. De Rosé is really unique, and I really like personally De Rosé, but also the story and how you it was quite like I felt like they were going to say something like that to you in the book, like they didn't want to be mentioned almost. But I think that's very very interesting. But also for me, it was like interesting when obviously rosé is really a growing category, but there is also champagne and there is also sparkling wine, and that's another category in the wine business. Then he's seen growth, maybe not only Champagne but other regions as well. And in the book you speak to the mainland son, and I'm sure you could have chose many other producer, or you spoke to also maybe another producer in Champagne. I'm forgetting at the moment, but like,
We
what
we
is
we,
it?
we visited the Perrier-Jouët. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah,
and
exactly.
it was really great experience
Yeah.
as well. And yeah, they told us the story about how rosé is the rosé champagne is growing also in popularity, and actually
Yeah.
some of the most expensive champagnes are rosé. And the winemaker there, she told us that I mean, if you compare to playing a piano, if you look at yourself as a winemaker, like playing a piano, then when making a rosé, you have more. Your piano is becoming a bit bigger, and there are more things to take care of. It becomes a bit more tricky, but also more refined. And this was definitely something she. It was definitely a challenge that she liked to pick up.
No, absolutely. I mean, for me, it's interesting. Like, there's a lot of focus on the steel rosé, but also on the sparkling rosé. There has been a lot of um, interesting product being made in the last decade, and a lot of more champagne producers have been more focused on it and looking at what they can do. Pardon me. Um, what did you? What was your impression aside your visit in Champagne to Perrier-Jouët? What was the impression about the region and what's happening a bit in apart in your opinion in the Champagne Rosé part?
What is happening with the rosé champagne?
Yeah,
Oh,
Champagne or Rosé sparkling wine. Like, where are you? Because I'm sure you tasted quite a few, a few sparkling rosé as well. So, where are you seeing in there aside of let's get out from the maybe book topic, but also more like on the generic
yeah, yeah. But
trends.
but what we see in what saw in Champagne and talk to people about is that and this is one of the reasons that some of the rosé champagnes also are quite pricey. Is that yeah, the demand for rosé champagne is growing,
Yeah,
and for that reason, the producers need to have some red wine to put to the champagne, because actually, I mean, now we're getting a bit technical,
no, that's
but
okay.
actually in Champagne, it's the only place where it's allowed to make rosé by adding red wine to a white sparkling wine. I mean, this is not the way you make you make still rosé.
Yeah,
Uh, Here you work on the skin I mean you work on the juice from the blue grapes, but and when the way to make rosé champagne is to take a normal champagne and add a little bit of red wine, but this red wine also needs to come from champagne,
yeah,
and it's Pinot Noir, and sometimes it can be a bit tricky to get good uh, red
Pinot Noir.
wine in a more cold area like Champagne. So the winemakers really have to invest in also the production of a good red wine to add into the champagne. And for that reason, they are putting more and more attention into it, because in order to meet the increasing demand. So that was a kind of a an interesting
Insights. Yeah.
detail to get into, and actually an interesting thing about champagne and rosé champagne is that the popularity of rosé champagne actually came before the popularity of still rosé wine.
Okay.
And one of the producers, I mentioned him before, Cecil Shin, got inspired of by this, and said, well, if rosé champagne can be so popular, we should be able to make a good rosé wine as well that
Yeah.
can be very popular. So that was one of his sources of inspiration before he bought Château d'Esclans and got into it.
Oh, that's a great insight there. I never made that connection. I think it's fantastic. Uh, I mean, we are reaching the. I have sort of exhausted my question, but before I let you go, I wanted to ask where people, and obviously I want to thank you for taking your time. And again, I think the book is really interesting and is taking on a topic that people are interested about. Where can people find your book? And is there a way of social media you are more active, or somewhere you are active about this? Where people can find you?
Well, you can find it online, Amazon, Barnes and Noble, Simon and Schuster. If you live in the US, you can find it in a lot of bookstores. So, I mean, if you're not in the US, yeah, online would be the best chance to get the book. And I mean, yeah, we're really happy to be out there with the book. We appreciate all the positive response we get from readers, people like you as well. Thanks a lot for that. And I mean, we can really feel that we have kind of that we that we can that we sh- that this story about rosé wine is a fascinating story, and a story that appeals to a lot of people. And I mean, now it's by we've from day one we decided this should not be a book for you don't have to be a wine nerd, you don't have to be a wine expert
Yeah,
to read the book. We wanted actually this book to be inclusive, accessible, in a way like the wine. And this is why we're also focusing so much on the storytelling,
yeah,
and also on I mean on the design of the book, and the great photography of Jens. And I mean, we put a lot of effort into this, and we really have got confirmed that rosé is a growing thing, and also a thing that is kind of is getting along with some of the mega trends that you see today, also with the global warming. And I mean, I don't know about you, Mattia, but I mean, I don't eat that many red steaks anymore. I read more vegetables. I read lighter meat. I eat fish, and
yeah,
and together with that, we also see an increase in demand for a wine that is lighter than red wine. At the same time, we see new generations of wine drinkers that do not necessarily have the same approach to wine drinking than their parents, and they don't want to follow all these unwritten rules that maybe have been defining the wine world. And I mean, they're still looking for quality and good experiences, but they have another another approach
yeah.
to wine drinking. And all this we try to also embrace with the book.
And it shows, and I think you did well. You said well when you wanted to. The style of the book, it copies a bit the style of the wine. I think that's a great connotation. And thank you again for your time, and for the book. And thank you.
It was a pleasure, Mattia. Thank
Thank
you.
you. You have listened to the Looking into Wine podcast with Rasmus Emborg, author of the book Rosé Evolution. If you enjoyed this podcast, remember to subscribe and to like. You can find the Looking into Wine on YouTube, Spotify, and iTunes, wherever you listen to your music, and now also on video. If you enjoyed this show, remember to share it with your friends. Thank you again for listening and for your ongoing support. Mattia.